In the future, to find the root of holding World Cup football in the world, there is a charter over there, the World Cup Charter. If you look for things like this, they will all come up if you ask AI. There is an Olympic charter, and in creating any organization, a global organization cannot be formed without a charter. That is what we call a primary charter. Because it is a primary charter meant for the organization's growth, we must take this and create a future charter for this era. Who should do it? Korea. Whether it is the Olympic Organizing Committee or the World Cup Organizing Committee, this charter must be newly organized. There's also a UN charter. Go search and bring that too. We must study and research these things to create a new future charter and assist them with it. We must find the answers to a new human culture, infuse them with new ideologies, and well incorporate things that can bring about new human peace to help the UN and the Olympic Committee. Why? What does the Olympic Committee do? After all, they created an organization for the world and are very active for the sake of the world. Then, that is commendable. What they have done so far is commendable. However, instead of letting it crumble, we must raise its quality a bit higher so that they can carry out brilliant activities in the future. Doing so is what contributes to the co-prosperity of humanity. What is America? America is a place that created a global village, new town. Over 50 countries joined forces there to become a massive country, an empire. This American empire had a charter at that time. Without a charter, it could not have become an empire. Korea must bring those charters, evaluate them, fill in what is lacking, and thereby shape the future of America. A future ideology must be included there. A charter that merely says, let's live well together right now, will not suffice. To shine, we must create a charter that outlines what we can do for humanity in the future. Where should this be done? The descendants of heaven, Chunsan, must do it. Only when we perform such a role will we be recognized as the descendants of heaven and receive the title of Hongik Ingan, widely benefiting humanity, leaders. That is why enterprises all have ideologies, and religions all have ideologies as well. But when you look at those ideologies, they were made back then, so they are too weak. When you look at them, they all insert a line about peace for humanity, but we can all see now that peace for humanity is not actually happening. Because we have fully grown and possess knowledge evenly, it is visible to us now. Then, doing the work of establishing an ideology so that brilliant activities can be carried out for humanity. This is called designing humanity. Establishing the correct ideology for humanity and supplying the things necessary to move toward that correct ideology. This is the work of Hadong Korea, the nation raised by God, the descendants of heaven, the people born as the last descendants. Doing this kind of work is what we call leading human culture. Religion is a social school that teaches the truth. It is not a place to be greedy to receive the energy of heaven. We gathered believers using God as a tool. Why? Because you are all gods. Gathering through the medium of God is the fastest way. We gathered them using God as a tool, but for 50 to 70 years, we have been dragging these descendants of heaven along, calling it faith, just bowing, lowering our heads, and clinging to it. Does this make any sense? Ignorant people making fools out of the descendants of heaven should have some limit. They will receive their punishment starting from now, so do not worry. Watch when they collapse from illness. This year is the inflection point. If you do not change, all of you will be struck down. Those who do not know their own faults will all be struck with illnesses and various troubles from now on. God can do this at will. Why? Because this is God's particle. Our body is made of these particles, and particles are added together. These are extremely fine particles, and this is all God. When all of this gathers, what does it become? It becomes the energy of the universe. Because you are holding this, punishing you is easy. Even if it hurts God a little, if he twists you, you will all feel the pain. Therefore, you were raised by the power of the citizens and humanity. But if you cannot do your job in your position, you will now become a textbook example saying, if you live like me, this is what happens, and then collapse. If those who call themselves religious leaders cannot provide such religious teachings and instead keep making the people suffer, you will all be severely punished. What is this called? receiving heavenly punishment. Where does this heavenly punishment belong? It belongs to our nation, because we are the descendants of heaven. Heavenly punishment is the greatest punishment. It comes at the very final stage. That is exactly the current era today. The leaders receive heavenly punishment. Why? Since you were raised this much to be a leader, you must do your job here. But because not a single leader in this country, having grown this much, is doing even a fraction of their duty in their position, this situation is occurring. We started talking about the World Cup and ended up here. There is no culture in the world that is not connected. We should have spent decades sharing these kinds of discussions. But for 50 to 70 years, we have never shared this even once. That is why we must share and study these things starting from now. We must live by opening our wisdom now. Only then can we become leaders of humanity. If you live solely with clever knowledge, you cannot become a leader of humanity. Now, although we talked about the World Cup is also an organization, and when the world hosts the World Cup, citizens of the world all watch it. While this is happening, messages must go out from here. Kicking the ball is just a tool to get people to gather. It tells people to look over here while holding the World Cup event. But while they are watching, the core essence must be sending a message of peace to humanity. Using the World Cup event as a tool, we must deliver a message of peace to humanity and put forth some message so that humanity can shine in the future. That is why the World Cup and the Olympics exist. Then, what should happen when we hold the Asian Games? We must put forth a message for Asia. Holding a global event means putting forth a message needed for the world. That is what a global event is. They cannot design such things there. That is why Korea must design it for them. There was a time when Korea pretended to design it once and then stopped. The Seoul Olympics. The world still remembers the 1988 Olympics. Why? Because a message came out from there. It wasn't about winning a lot of gold medals at the Olympics. A message came out. What kind of message? Hand in hand, singing a song of peace for humanity. The 1988 Olympics was a time when the Olympic music carried and delivered a message for humanity. That is why, no matter how hard humanity tries to squeeze out such a wonderful message, it still does not come out like that. Our citizens should have kept that 1988 Olympic song on their lips. Whatever they did, they should have put such things at the forefront. In the future, organizations that research such things must be created. Tremendous messages were contained within the 1988 Olympics. At that time, the largest number of participants in Olympic history gathered to hold the event, and even the Olympic flag was changed by Korea during the 1988 Olympics. There are many things that were changed for the Olympics during the 1988 Olympics. Now, we must recall these things in the future and ask, what must we do for human society? As for information, we can bring any kind of information from humanity. We can bring information on charters and everything, so there must also be a future Human Research Institute that re-examines these things. Then we must also research how those countries should live in the future. What are those countries? They are local governments. Then where is Korea? It is the capital of the world where local governments exist. That is Korea. How must we use Korea in the future? We must use it as the capital of the world. That is Korea. Why do I teach you that it is the capital of the world? The knowledge and culture that humanity has achieved over thousands and tens of thousands of years have all entered Korea. Then, is this the capital of humanity, or is it a useless place? It is the capital of humanity. If all culture has entered here, then this is the capital of humanity. All materials have been placed in the capital of humanity. But why is a new paradigm not coming out from the capital of humanity? A new paradigm that must lead humanity should be coming out. Humanity is waiting for that right now. All organizations called religions in the world have been established, and they are searching for the work that a true religion must do. Because no one is presenting it to them, they do not know, so they are still just believing and kneeling down. We must teach them. What is the relationship between God and me? To give you the exact answer first, we have been clinging to God for thousands and tens of thousands of years. We clung to Him in whatever way we could. We lived that way. But from now on, how should we act? It is time to make God happy. Didn't we say we must shine the spirit of our ancestors? It is time to make the souls of our ancestors happy. It is time to make our parents and our ancestors happy. Since the year 2013, what is happiness? It is what we call filial piety, Hyo. Filial piety is making ancestors, parents, and God happy. If we lived relying on the Buddha, now we must make the Buddha happy. That is what we call a knowledge society. Since these descendants of heaven have all grown up, we must express our gratitude for creating us this way so we can brilliantly shine in the world and do our duty. Then, humanity will shine. Society will shine. Only when we, the descendants of heaven, live joyfully will the people of the world be joyful. In the future, even if just a few of us awaken and make an effort, this will spread in an instant. Since we must now step forward to make humanity live joyfully, that is our duty. We who came with a historical mission, we who must shine the spirit of our ancestors, we must correctly find filial piety and practice it. This filial piety, as was the case with the Tangans, refers to the filial piety that makes even God happy. Only then will peace come to humanity. We must now enter into this work. So this year is the inflection point. We must pull up all the turbid and dark energies hiding in this 3,000 land of golden embroidery where the descendants of heaven live. Sweep them away with a broom and make Haedong Korea a place that radiates light so that humanity can shine.